And we are back. Hard-fought night game against Wisconsin. Maybe the formula for an upset. Couldn't happen to us, though. I'm Chris from Menace to Sports. That's Ron from Best Damn Media. Almost flip-flopped him. It's been
Yeah.
kind of a wild day, brother, but want to ask you, how is your evening going?
I mean, we got the win. I feel like that Pittsburgh dad video where he's like 3, 2, 1, win. Like you're just counting down the seconds. Like this game can't be over fast enough. People said trap game. People said upset alert. And I said, I cannot believe it. I can't hear it. I don't see this team scoring more than 12 points. They did not. But it was still not a fun watch. I mean, it's always a good Saturday when the Buckeyes get a win. But, man, they made us sweat it out like I was watching my Steelers.
Yeah, definitely really uncomfortable. A couple things that I want to unpack in today's show. Obviously, we're going to address all sides of the ball and kind of talk a lot about Common Core because I know that's going to be a topic of discussion. But Ron, I want to start things off on a little bit more of a positive note. The goal is always to win. Like for Ohio State, at least, I think it's important to remember that they are in the thick of it. They control their own destiny no matter what. Even if they win every game ugly, wins or wins or wins, and wins get you into the playoffs. And this, I mean, does have all of the kind of marks, the formula for an upset, right? I mean, we had the distraction during the week. That was the Michigan scandal. Ohio State has some of the injuries. Guys are dinged up, just coming off an emotional win against a really good team in Penn State, who also almost had an emotional letdown today against Indiana, I might add. And then you pair that up with the fact that at night, away, defensive coach, squeezed Kyle McCord a little bit. I mean, it really felt in the first half that, goodness gracious, this could be your Purdue, your Iowa, your uncomfortable game that ends really ugly. And kudos to this team for being able to toughen this one out. And again, the team proves they can win, and they can win tough, and they can win ugly, because don't get it twisted. Today was real ugly.
And not just this team, but Ryan Day specifically. We have yet to see that Ryan Day ugly regular season Big Ten loss to any team other than the team up north. And I mean, yeah, you always hate to lose to the team up north, but those have been top 5 losses. You've not seen that letdown win from a team that they shouldn't lose to. And again, Ryan Day finds another way to get it done this week.
Yeah, I want to ask you because I know I just said winning, just winning is important, but the one thing that I thought was going to be massive today is that I really wanted Ohio State to win big because I wanted Ohio. This is your final statement before the playoff rankings come out. This is your signature. This is your exam, your midterm, I might add, before those first rankings.
Oh, good.
And I thought it was important for Ohio State to do really well just all season, and especially in this game, because when the rankings come out, I think it's important for Ohio State to be ranked number 1.
I'm guessing because you believe that if they're ranked number 1, they can afford a loss to the team up north and still make the playoffs.
Correct. Forward thinker, Chris.
Yeah, man, I still think the Buckeyes have the resume to do it. I mean, Penn State didn't look great today, but I still think I don't think there's a team in the country right now with a better resume than Notre Dame and Penn State on their record right now. Would you agree?
I agree. They have the resume, but you know what the committee always does when you start talking about resumes? They'll be like, well, yeah, Team A has the resume. They'll do the blind resume. And then the second line will be, but Team B, they passed the eye test. And I think that's the thing that frustrates me. If this was a BCS world, great. Ohio State won. Good. We're cool. But I think the human element of it, and Ohio State being ranked so high and struggling with teams that get beat by Washington State, is kind of the frustrating thing for me. I think it's so important. You want to be ranked number 1. You want to. I don't care what anybody says. I want to be ranked number 1. And because I think that's important for this team to have that. So I wonder if today was enough. It comes on the day where Georgia puts the beats. I'm talking puts hands on Florida, and I think that Ohio State should be ranked either 1 or 2. Do you think they've done enough to be ranked 1 or 2, or do you think they'll be 3 or 4?
I think they've done enough, but I don't think that they'll get the ranking. If Michigan is not punished for this scandal in the rankings, I think that we could see Georgia and Michigan ahead of us. I think Ohio State's going to end up in the first college football rankings if Michigan's not punished in any way at number 3, like they are in the AP right now.
And that's 100% fair. Ron, we got to unpack the game, bro. And I want to start with the good. We're going to get to the good, the bad, the ugly, the pretty, all that. Got to start with the good. Our guy, Jim Knowles, again, has now at this point of the season, I feel like, I don't know how you feel about it, but I've embraced it. The defense is going to win this team everything.
Absolutely. And the thing that I'm most excited about is I'm a nickname guy. We get to bring back one of the best nicknames in Ohio State fandom. And I think it's time for the return of him, Knowles. Like, what a game. I text you. I said, Jim's going to make his money today. Like, he has to win us this game. I tweeted the Charles Barkley memes praying at Space Jams. And I'm like, man, I need this defense to come home with a win. And we talked about it in the pregame show this morning. I said, I don't see Wisconsin scoring more than 12 points. We struggled to come up with things to talk about leading up to this game because I'm like, Wisconsin's 5-2. They look decent on paper. They're leading in the West. But when I watch this team, when I look at their stats, when I read about this team, I don't see a team that can score more than 10 or 12 points. And they only put up 10. And then you see, even with the Buckeyes struggling on offense, even with an injured quarterback, even with Emeka Ibuka out, you see Travion Henderson be able to put this team on his back. Marvin Harrison Jr., a 5-star, put this team on his back, and they were able to get it done. And with this defense playing like this, I find it hard to believe that there's a team in the country that can beat this team.
Does it feel like 2021 Georgia to you? Because that's what it feels like to me. Like when I sit back and watch, I know the tight end didn't get a ton of usage today, but Cade Stover. I mean, you sit there and look at Marvin, and then you sit back and look at how dominant the defense is while keeping things simple. The thing I love about Jim Knowles and kind of his evolution, I talk about growth as a coach all the time. A lot of times, older coaches that have been a lot of places, don't continue to grow as coaches after their 5th or 6th stop in big-time college football. It feels like Jim Knowles made the adjustment, understood that Kyle McCord is not going to put up enough points for him to be the riverboat gambler he was before. This defense plays things straight up. And guess what? They're straight up better than everybody. They're deep, too. Our guy, Hero Canoe, shout out Truther, got in the game, got a sack, played really well. I mean, we saw Lathan Ransom went down. Guess what? Our guy, Sonny Styles, moved to an expanded role, and the defense didn't skip a beat. I mean, BIA feels like it's back with the corner play. Jordan Hancock with back-to-back really good weeks. Like, he's a guy that you could put in the box, wants to come up and hit, playing really well. I mean, you look outside, Denzel Burke doing his thing, clearly not 100%, still locked down. They tried him, and he's strapped up. Iggy, always there, no matter what happens, whether teams
fumble recovery.
You always feel Iggy's impact. This defense is lights out everywhere. Tyleik Williams is the best defensive tackle in America, and JTT, the burst feels like it's getting faster and faster. I know he's not wrapping up and doing that, but Jim Knowles deserves all the flowers in the world. Tim Walton, flowers. Perry Eliano, flowers. James Laurinaitis, flowers. The linebackers look at least a little better. Everybody's improving.
If you're giving off flowers, no. I'm not going to let you do that. We're not giving out flowers to everyone on the defense. Don't you dare leave out LJ.
Oh, my fault.
Don't do my man like that, bro.
My fault, granddad.
Our defensive line is balling. There's no way we're giving flowers out to everyone on this defensive staff and leaving out Larry Legend, man. Give a shout out to Larry Johnson. His defensive line is balling. Tyleik is balling. JTT. They're getting pressures. They're getting home. I can't say enough good things about this defensive line. They are putting it all together. Shout out to Jim Knowles and everybody on that defensive staff because that was, again, another masterclass by this defense. And, man, did they play great tonight.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be important, the health of Lathan Ransom. And I do wonder what happened to Malik Hartford. We heard all kind of the rumors about Malik Hartford being this elite freshman. I think now you may need to see him more. While I do like Sonny Styles in the expanded role, I think it is going to be important for a more rangy, more athletic guy. And if he's that, so Sonny can kind of continue to play up near the box. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's kind of maybe a question for next week and moving forward.
I can touch on it real quick. I do think that if Lathan weren't able to go, they would go more consistently with Jordan Hancock in that nickel role and slide Sonny back to the strong safety position, and he'll play Lathan's role. And I think they're just going to have to roll with those guys in those positions until Lathan can get healthy.
This is a top what defense in America?
1.
Hey,
top 1. Hey, I'm ready. I'm worried about my defense, man.
I think he's lying at this point. I think this defense is the best in America.
We did the exercise this week. Do you think there's a team in the country that can equally hold Ohio State under 17 and score 17 on Ohio State? I don't. Go ahead, say it. Oregon.
Nah, I think Oregon can do it.
Who do you think it is?
The one team, I think LSU could. That's the one. I mean, I think
if we see them.
Yeah, we won't see them. I mean, if we see LSU, something went drastically wrong. They already have so not even going there. All right, got to talk about it, bro, because the topic of discussion, at least for me, and I'm sorry for everybody in advance, this is the uncomfortable part of the show. Kyle McCord is not a good quarterback through the lens of anybody who watches Ohio State. Kyle stinks when we're talking about Ohio State quarterback standard. He's not very good.
It is absolutely a stock down day for Kyle McCord. I've been trying to stay positive when it comes to this quarterback situation. Trying to see the positivity, see the progression. But man, I mean, we're in week 9 and he's just not where I expected him to be. Especially Ryan Day tells us he's on the same trajectory as every other Ohio State quarterback. I do not agree. I think that's a lie. I think if Devin Brown was healthy, we would have seen him in this game. I mean, it was a struggle. We saw 2 interceptions and a fumble lost in the first half. And we talk week in and week out about how great this defense is, and all we need out of our quarterback play is mistake-free football. And at this point, if you're not putting points on the board and you're turning the ball over, that's completely unacceptable.
Ron, I'll keep it 100% with you. I'm not saying this team can't win the Big Ten with Kyle. I'm not saying this team can't go undefeated with Kyle. But you know what I can tell you? That if we drop a game along the way, 99.99% positive, it will be Kyle's fault. We're no longer talking about the play calling because it's there. We're no longer talking about the offensive line because guess what? Up against the best defensive end in the conference, they did really well, and no one wanted to talk about it. This has been poor quarterback play. He's not escapable. He can't run anywhere. That's an issue. He can't throw the ball effectively. That's an issue. And now he's turning the ball over. That's an issue. If you're not going to get anything out of him in the throw game and he's going to be giving the ball away, he doesn't need to be a starting quarterback at Ohio State to the point where it's getting really ugly. Like, we're talking about a game last week that we should have won. We should have put 30 on Penn State. We didn't because of one person, Kyle McCord. Today, we scored 24 points. That was because of the entire offense, except for Kyle. We are now winning despite Kyle, and that should never be the case for a championship team, because I'm okay with the game manager, but we are entering sabotage territory with his style of play. If you want to hit me with the injury thing, cool, fine, don't care. But guess what? Throwing the ball to the other team blatantly 2 times is trash. He's got to be better because this team is so good everywhere else. So good everywhere else that he's going to cost them a natty. We have the best player in college football on offense. We have who I think is probably the most explosive running back in the entire country. He went crazy today. We have a defense that you just said is top 1 in America. What is the only thing on this team that is not an A on the report card?
It's the quarterback play. And he said it himself coming into this week that he understands that he needs to be better if this team has championship aspirations. And I honestly think we might have saw one of Kyle's worst games all year. And we are in week 9. And that is quite concerning because when you're talking about week 9 and you're like, I wonder if that game was worse than his first start on the road against Indiana this year in week 1. It really does give you reason for concern. I just started the poll in the chat. How would you grade Kyle McCord's performance today, so I'll be interested to see. I mean, 55% says F already, and I mean, I wouldn't even say that's too harsh of a grade. With Ryan Day and
you
the weapons,
put F minus on there.
With Ryan Day and the weapons that he has around him, there's no excuse for the quarterback play that we've seen these past few weeks, and you would expect by week 9 that it would have elevated at this point. I want to ask you about another guy. You talked about the injuries. We saw Kyle banged up at the end. Our guy Tristan Gebbia, 7th-year player out of Oregon State, was warming up at one point in the game, because this game could have looked drastically different if this guy was healthy.
Yeah, this was the Devin Brown Tua moment to a much lesser degree. Obviously, it's not a natty. Obviously, it's not the postseason, and the team wasn't really in too much danger of losing. But I feel like the number one goal for Devin, if you're listening, is to get healthy, because this team, honestly, Ron, needs him. And I don't care what you say about the throwing of the football. What Devin gives you is way more openness in the run game. People want to say, oh, he's not a great runner. He's honestly probably similar athletic profile to JT Barrett, just a lot thinner, if we're being completely honest. And I think with him, the run game looks so much better. And honestly, with the way the offensive line is progressing, I think you need him, because guess what? You're not getting anything in the throw game from Kyle anyway.
We saw a play during the game today where the announcer said, yeah, nowhere to go with the ball. You see G. Scott over there covered, and I'm looking, and I'm like, covered where? Like, if CJ Stroud was the quarterback, he would have had the ball out of his hands before G. Scott even turned for the ball, and the ball would have been on his chest when he turned around. It's just like we don't see those anticipation throws. I mean, we've seen Kyle put them in windows, but like rarely do you see the ball out of Kyle's hand before a guy's out of a break and just one of those trust and timing throws. And I feel like that's something that we don't see in our offense. We saw him make a completion to the far side of the field to Julian Fleming, and it was like, wow, week 9. I feel like that's the most basic staple of this offense, and we've seen you throw it into the dirt so many times this year that we don't even use it as a gimme play, and that was like a safety net for every Ryan Day quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback is way behind, and if I'm Devin Brown, I'm going to the Fountain of Youth. I'm doing whatever I can. I'm going to whatever doctor.
Got to go to Germany, where Kobe used to go to get his knee fixed before the season.
Wherever Kobe went, wherever Aaron Rodgers went, I'm going there. And Ohio State needs to kind of look themselves in the mirror. I'm talking to you, Corey Dennis, and Ryan Day, because boy, oh boy, they need something. They need juice. They need belief, because I'm not going to lie, I'm sick of watching Kyle McCord run the Lamborghini into the curb every chance he gets. Boy's curbing the Lambo, bro.
It's crazy. I mean, we thought, like, when this quarterback battle was going on, they told us there were 2 first-round quarterbacks in that room.
Mm-hmm.
That was cap. That was not true. Like, we absolutely do not. And I find it hard to believe that they got the assessment wrong on both. So fingers crossed, there's still one in the room at least. And I think with health, I don't think that the discussion regarding Devin playing this year is over. And I have a poll right now. Should Ryan Day consider a change at QB? Let us know in the chat. I wanted everybody to take a deep breath. This is a Saturday with a Buckeye win. So I know
I'm not taking a deep breath.
No, man. No. We got to pivot, man, because we have been crushing the quarterback, but there's still one guy, despite these struggles, that has been finding a way to get it done week in and week out. And I had a graphic next to my face that said JJ McHeisman earlier this week, and it made me want to throw up. So it's time for us to present the real leader in the clubhouse when it comes to this Heisman race, and it's time to quit playing with our guy, man.
Honestly.
Marvin Harrison. I'm not sure if I love the name. I've heard it. I've seen it being tweeted everywhere. We might have to work on that, but that's where we're at right now. Marvin Harrison, how are you feeling about the name? And do you think this campaign is legit, even with the struggles at quarterback? Can Marv make a run at the Heisman through these last couple games of the year?
This is going to be the most unique Heisman run I think I remember seeing, because it is a wide receiver that's not putting up absolutely stupid nuclear numbers on an elite passing offense like we saw Devontae Smith do. This is the heartbeat of the offense. This award is supposed to go to the most outstanding player. And really what it's gone to is the best player on the best offense. Well, guess what? He's the best player on an offense that needs him more than anybody else. Like, he's the one. This offense goes as Heisman Harrison goes. Okay, I can almost get behind the name. The more I say it in my head, the more I like it. They need him, bro. Like, he's got to be in New York. He's the best player in America. And he's single-handedly, with a little bit of help from Trey, is the one responsible for just about every ounce of movement we get from this offense. Like, everything. He is the reason. Like, he's literally the only reason Kyle has not been benched yet. Without Marv, this is what, a 2-loss team?
Absolutely. I mean, you saw today, Ohio State stars were stars. Travion Henderson went absolutely crazy. Marvin Harrison, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Jim Knowles, the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country, put on an absolute masterclass. It was good to see the guys that can be great step up and be great, especially when you need them, especially when we're seeing the struggles that we've been seeing at quarterback.
Yeah, and if not Marv, then who? Like, who is more valuable to their team on a true playoff contender than Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I don't have an answer. I think it is Marv, because this team without Marv would be, especially even with Emeka out right now. Could you imagine this team without Emeka and Marv? Marv is carrying doing the heavy lifting for both wide receivers with Emeka Egbuka out. I mean, we saw Emeka Egbuka on the Biletnikoff list in first-round mocks 2-3 weeks ago, and people forget the Buckeyes are still getting it done without him right now.
I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. just had his out of the last 7 games, his 6th 100-yard game, multiple touchdowns. And here's the craziest part about all of it. Ron, guess what? I know where the ball's going. You know where the ball's going. Kyle knows where the ball's going. The defense knows where the ball's going. And guess what? It's not always a great throw. All these variables, and he's still putting up numbers. And he's impressive. And that catch he had in the end zone was big time. I like they've been moving him around more, played a lot of slot on some of those drags and crossers. Like, Marv is the guy, and he's got to get to New York at this point. I know it's a quarterback award, but he's got the name. He's going to have the numbers. And if he doesn't at least win the Biletnikoff, I'm going to be very, very unhappy here in Ohio.
Get the tiki torches. But we did talk about a guy going crazy today outside of Marv, and we got to give this guy his flowers. We talked about the need for Travion Henderson to return to this offense, and man, did he return in a big way today.
Massive way. I mean, Travion Henderson, a couple weeks ago, I've always been of the mindset that I believe Chip, because he follows the blocking so well and keeps everything on schedule, is kind of more reliable to me. A couple weeks ago, when Trey missed his first game, I sat back and thought to myself, wow, I really miss Trey. I missed the burst. I missed the explosion. And it was something that I took for granted. Now seeing him out there, and it looks like he's being more patient. It looks like he's winning with vision and burst. And also, he's not doing the thing that we saw from him earlier this season and last year, where as soon as you get touched one time, he hits the ground. Like, he is playing at such a level speed-wise, and also being responsible with his path and sticking to his coaching points. I need to eat crow, because Trey is different. They're throwing in the ball. I wish he would have caught the one who would have had a touchdown there too. Trey is different, and with the struggles of Kyle, him being able to be a security blanket and a home run hitter together is really, really big time.
Absolutely. I mean, he was the second leading receiver today in the game, which was huge and needed. I mean, I think wide receivers not named Marvin Harrison Jr. had 3 catches today, which is an insane stat. Trey had to be huge in the running game and the passing game. We had our bold prediction show, and you asked me, could Trey go over 150 yards? And I looked at you like you were crazy, because I was like, man, I think he's going to have a big day, and I want to say over 100, but 150 seems crazy to me. And boy, did he go out there and put on a show today.
Put on a show. And bro, like his freshman year, he was the home run hitter. His sophomore year was really confusing to watch, because I felt like he was trying to be too much of a home run hitter, but he was beat up. This year, again, I always say this about the running backs and wide receivers. you're really good if you can do one, right? Like if you can hit the home runs, great. That's fabulous. You're good. When you start hitting the home runs and start giving me the routine 8s and 9s, that's when you become a superstar. And it works with wide receivers. Like wide receivers, if you're a great deep threat, cool, you're good. You're Deshaun Jackson. But when you start housing slants, that's when you're Tyreek Hill. That's when you're the guys of that kid. That's when you're Justin Jefferson. For Trey, it's similar. Like the guys that get you 6, 7 every time, cool. They're good running backs. The guys that can break them, cool. But the guys that can give you everything in between, that's when you get the McCaffreys and the Saquon Barkleys. And it felt like that today from Trey. And it's really big time because honestly, this team's going to need him because every time 6 drops back, you don't know what team the ball's going to.
Absolutely. And the big play explosion is something that this offense missed tremendously. And this is now the second time this season you've seen Ohio State's offense come out flat and Trey have an explosive play that's able to lift this offense up with a huge touchdown. You saw it with the huge run against Notre Dame, and then you saw it again with the late touchdown today. I mean, the big play explosion is definitely something this offense has been lacking, and to have Trey back has been huge for them.
Absolutely. And Trey is good. And the offensive line deserves continued flowers. 2 or 3 weeks ago, everybody was ready to fire Justin Fry. Guess what? This now looks like one of the best offensive line units out there.
Absolutely. Josh Simmons has to hate the broadcast every time they put up most penalties in the country because they're carrying over all of his stats from San Diego State. Bro does get a lot of penalties, but man, I know he has to be sick of seeing that graphic. I saw some criticism online about some of the whiff blocks and some of the hits that the quarterback took. But all in all, the run game has absolutely stepped up. And for the most part, I predicted no sacks. I was wrong on that. We saw the strip sack. But for the most part, the offensive line did their job and were able to have a huge running day for Trey.
Well, it's like the part of it is, so here's where I'm at with the offensive line. When it's safeties coming up and making tackles, I don't really blame that on the offensive line. I blame that on, we can't throw the ball. So guess what? Everybody in the world's in the box. And it felt like the majority of the game, the offensive line did a good job, and the issue was climbing. Now, late in the game, being able to wear people down, definitely really, really big time to see. And I am in. I think now the only unit that's not good enough to win a national championship is the unit with only one person on it. I think everybody else
is the unit or is the person playing?
The person, because the rest of the unit. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. I wouldn't put it on the whole unit, man. There's probably people in that room like, whoa.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, at what point do you consider benching Kyle?
The 5-minute remaining mark in the second quarter today. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I have the poll up there. Everybody said that Ryan Day should absolutely. Let's check back in on that. We're almost at the end of our time here, but should Ryan Day consider a change at QB? I'm looking at the chat. We have 79% say yes.
We have a championship.
People what they want.
What I'm saying, we have a championship level team. I just wish Devin didn't hurt his ankle last week. Facts. Because
if Devin Brown does not hurt his ankle, we see a completely different game. But I know this was a very, very critical post-game instant reaction, and that's why it's called an instant reaction, man, because these are our feelings coming right out of the game. And, man, we are not happy with that. I mean, despite it being a Buckeye win, and I always say we don't get many – we only get 12 of these a week during the regular season, or 12 of these a year during the regular season. We got to enjoy these wins and take them because, I mean, there's plenty of teams that would love to have the success the Buckeyes have, but, man, it is hard to be excited when you feel like you are a championship caliber on every position in every position group on the team except for one.
That's what I'm saying, bro. And the chat is so out of pocket, Ron, bro. Get me out of here.
It's your boy, Ron James from Best Damn Media. A big shout out to Bleacher Report for having us here. If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at @2_TEES. You can find me tomorrow on the flagship Buckeye BS on the Best Damn Media YouTube. And, of course, Monday through Friday, the Buckeye Roast every morning at 8 a.m. We'll be back on Bleacher Report on Monday. And yeah, we're going to be back for the college football playoff rankings during the month of November. Our schedule is going to be shifting a little bit here on Bleacher Report, so we will keep you up to date on that. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and in the Bleacher Report app. Chris Drew, let the people know where they can find you.
I'm Chris Drew, and it could be worse. We could be Clemson. You can find me anywhere with Ron, and you can find me, honestly, weekdays around noon, melting down about all things college football and menace to sports.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Go Bucks and OH.
I-O.